It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Well, for the next 60 minutes, we're going to talk cars, trucks, and SUVs. In fact, anything with a throttle. It's your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles. And of course, you're listening to America's automotive radio show, keeping you connected to the automotive world, locally created, nationally celebrated. So what do we have lined up for you on this week's show? Well, we have a packed show. We'll be telling you what was in the Test Miles garage that we tested on the roads. The Northwest Green Vehicle of the Year has been announced. We'll talk to some of the jurors. There is a new Corvette, the Grand Sport, and Portland Tribune's Jeff Zerschmied will tell us all about driving it, as well as the Rose Cup races. They're on their way. We'll give you a preview of what to expect at PIR. And Ryan has been tested some automobile product, and he'll tell us how well that does. Sean, what have you been driving from the Test Miles garage this week?
I actually took out the Lexus IS 200T F Sport. Man, names are getting longer and longer. But basically, it's a 5-passenger luxury SUV, and it's not the total S Sport. It's just F Sport badging and a little bit of performance. So it's not the big 425 horsepower.
So this is very much like when BMW do an M package.
Yeah.
They kind of give you badging and the look
Styling
of the M, but it doesn't actually have the performance of the M.
Yeah, basically that's what it is. But
so
I mean,
it's like a spray tan.
Spray tan.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
It's a spray tan. You don't actually go in the sun and get tan. You just go get sprayed to look like you have a suntan.
Well, the spray tan on this car looked awesome. It was a blue metallic. It was called Hyper Sonic Blue, which is a beautiful blue. So the spray tan on this one looks good.
Okay.
Basically, some of the tech is like they have their little sports control, which you can get better throttle control. You can change from eco, normal, and then their performance package. Has a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder that has a 241 horsepower. 0 to 60 is not that impressive. It's only 6.9, but still gets up and goes. It's 8-speed direct transmission. It's a fun car to drive. The only problem I had with the car itself is there's a little lag with the turbo when you're on the freeway, but it's still...
That's for me because is it a twin squirrel, right?
Yeah, excuse me.
So is it, if it's a twin turbo, then one kind of hits when the other one,
Well, no, it's just a one turbo, so
it's single turbo.
Excuse me on that one, okay. Yeah. But I mean, it's a fun car. I liked it. Its competitions, like we said, it's the BMW 328, Audi A4 with a 2-liter turbo, Mercedes C300. It actually has more horsepower than all of them. It's tied with the Mercedes with 241, so it's doing something.
And this is a car, I think, that is affordable, too. I mean, a lot of the German cars tend to get too pricey. Once you start putting extras on them, I mean, a lot of times I was looking at cars that, for instance, the Accord Hybrid, which is a bad comparison to this as a car, but it comes basically in 2 or 3 different trim levels, and you get everything or nothing, and it's $5,000 between the starting price and what you can top it out at.
Basically,
with the German cars, you can start at $28,000 and you can go to $60,000 before you've optioned what you just want on the car, and you can go higher than that if you want all the extras like the cargo net and that type of stuff.
Well, honestly, the horsepower isn't much different on the Honda Accord Hybrid at like 200 horsepower compared to, what did you say the IS was?
241.
Yeah, it's really not that much different, honestly.
Yeah,
but it's the weight.
Yeah, it is the weight.
It is, and I mean, like you said, with the right price range, the IS does start at $37,000. You can top them up around 50, but you're not getting in that $60,000 range with BMW and everything. So
right.
Definitely agree on that. And I think the interior, I'd actually prefer this car over a German car. I like the looks of it. I really enjoy the interior because nothing's flat in the interior. It has this whole cockpit feeling. The dashboard has this kind of round bubble instead of just a flat dash. I think it's sexy inside. It's actually enjoyable to be inside the car versus a German vehicle.
I will tell you, for me, it's the strangest thing. When I'm in it, I like it better than the German ones, but when I'm in a BMW, I like that better. So I think it's whatever I'm driving that day. The performance of BMW is pretty unbelievable.
I I get the performance, but if I had to actually go out and buy one, I think I'd choose the IS over
Just as a daily driver for
daily
sensible.
driver.
That's more of your sensible brain talking than your passion, which is the first time I think I've ever heard that, and since I've known
But
you
it's
in
still
12
a passion
years.
car. I mean, I took it up to the mountains to actually go film the vehicle as well, and it was fun through the curves.
Right.
So it's that passion driver who can actually have a car to drive daily and still have fun with.
Right. Oh, sorry, that was my microphone.
But I don't know. I mean, like, some people don't like their little mouse pad system, and I think it's easy to use because they have this little mouse pad. Your hand fits comfortably over it, and you basically scroll to get your radio stations, your climate control. I love it.
I think one of the things is we're a poor judge of some of these new technologies on a long-term basis, because if you drive them every single day, by the end of the first 6 weeks, you know how to use them and you understand them. If you don't, like I have a new Mini. In the Mini, it has the scroll pad thing. When I started to use it, by the end of driving it for 2 weeks, I'm totally used to it. I can use it. But when I first saw them, I thought, who would ever use that? This week, I've been driving the 2016 Lincoln MKX. Now, this is a kind of a strange vehicle because Lincoln haven't been pushing it very hard. It's really the competitor to the Lexus RX. But I'm surprised. I actually was expecting less of a vehicle. I think Lincoln has been struggling as a company to find their feet. And I was surprised the vehicle is, I would say, acceptable and decently put together. It's not something that would be on my passion list, but it definitely does not disappoint. Adaptive cruise control with stop and go, pre-collision alert, which went off this morning because I was a little late to the studio. Enhanced parking assist, lane keeping assist, and I can feel it pulling me back into the lane. You don't use your signal to change lanes, which is something I occasionally do. I try to remember to do it because it's a pet peeve of a lot of the people I drive with. But occasionally I forget to use my signal when I change lanes. As I start to change lanes with this car, it pulls me back because it says, you're not signaling, you shouldn't be going towards the line that close, which is kind of cool.
The only time I don't like that is like for... It's this morning example. You're coming over the bridge and there's a bunch of hay bales in the freeway.
There were hay bales when came off a truck as we went over the Markham Bridge.
And
this
you
morning,
shift really
southbound.
quick instead of trying to signal because it's like you don't want to hit a hay bale, and it kind of forces you back. Or same thing, it's like you're driving down the road and there's a bicyclist and you're not getting all the way over. You're just scooting over a little bit so you don't hit the bicyclist, and it kind of want to force you back towards them.
Right. Right, so I think it has, the retractable power roof and all those type of things, the moon roof. I mean, it has a lot of nice things in it. They've done something that Honda have done, which drives me a little crazy, which is the push-button gears. And yesterday I had to do like a 4-point turn out of a parking lot, and I kept hitting park by accident instead of drive, and it's just not intuitive. I'm sure if you were with it every day, because you have to look over. It's not like where you can put your hand down and it's 2 clicks up. You actually have to look for the letter and push the letter that says reverse, drive, park, whichever. You can't just put your hand there and know where it is. So I'm taking my eyes off of the road and I'm hitting the button. The surround view cameras, they're excellent on it. They have a lot of really, I would say, up-to-date tech on the vehicle. 2.7 liter V6 or a 3.7 liter EcoBoost V6 engine as well. Up to 335 horsepower, 6-speed shift paddle shifters, which you would probably want to use in the sport mode. I found with Lincolns, they're an okay drive, but they're a much more exhilarating drive when you put them into the sports mode. Unfortunately, the gas mileage goes way down. You can get it in a rear-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive, which I think is great because it then serves the whole country. Its competitors are the RX, as I mentioned before, from Lexus, BMW's X5, and Cadillac's RSX. 4 trim levels, premium, all the way up to the black label, which is something that we could talk about at another time, but it's a weird premium level that they have, which I don't really understand. And it has the My Lincoln Mobile embedded app, 360 cameras, as I mentioned, and also a really good audio system. It'll start at 38,000 and goes to 53. I think they've done a good job of this car. I think the pricing of this car, if they're going to come back into the market and make a statement, needs to be a little lower than that. I think if they come in, the trouble is they have their smaller, the MKC, but they need to start coming in at a lower price. And that's one of their problems with Lincoln, but they are great cars. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Northwest Automotive Association, the Northwest Automotive Press Association. They have chosen their Green Vehicle of the Year. We'll have two of the jurors in for that. We're going to talk about Rose Cup, and we're also going to have a little chat about the new Grand Sport, which has just come out. That and product review when Test Miles returns. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Staying connected with the automotive world, you are listening to our car show, Test Miles. I'm your host, Nick Miles. Just wanted to thank all those that donated to our Feeding America campaign as part of Mini Takes the States. We actually raised 1,100 meals for the hungry. A lot of that will go to the food bank in Oregon, and a big thank you to Charlie from roadfly.com, who donated enough money to push us over the edge. He said, I'll push you over the 1,100 meals. So altogether, with the mini community, we drove 4,200 miles. We visited 18 states, 14 cities. There were 908 mini owners that went all the way, and 2 Labradors. There were 1,400 to 1,800 people every single day at the Rise and Shine, which is the event where we start off. And it was probably one of the most incredible events of the year. And we did something to help hunger. We raised in total 1.3 million meals. And Oregon Food Bank is where Feeding America is based. So that means a lot of those meals are going to serve the hungry. And thank you to all of those listeners and people who donated to make us go over the edge. Jen, what is our fun fact?
First fun fact of the day is in 1897, the first electric taxis hit the streets of New York City, and the Pope Manufacturing Company of Connecticut becomes the first large-scale American electric automobile manufacturer.
Isn't that strange? Electric taxis, and now they're coming back again. We have eco taxis in Portland. It's all a big circle. Life is a big circle. All right, every year, the Northwest Automotive Press Association have an event in Portland called Drive Revolution. It brings together the best green and alternative fuel vehicles, and along with the latest automotive technologies. So the results are in for the Northwest Green Vehicle of the Year. There were 4 categories: Best Plug-in Vehicle, Best Hybrid, Best Luxury Green Vehicle, and Best Overall. Here to talk through the events and tell us all about them is John Vincent from U.S. News and World Report, and Jeff Zerschmied from Test Miles, and of course the Portland Tribune. Gentlemen, was this year's event a success?
It was absolutely a success.
So
That's exactly the word I was going to use.
So tell me a little bit about how it works and what happens.
Well, what we do is we get a bunch of these vehicles together, and we park them all right down at the World Trade Center downtown. They actually close down the street for us and everything. And then we get a bunch of journalists to come in from around the Pacific Northwest, automotive journalists all. And each one of us drives every single one of the vehicles, and we take notes and evaluate them. And we look at what's new this year and how the vehicle performs relative to its competition.
So this year, how many vehicles were involved and how many journalists were involved?
We had about 20 journalists and 14 vehicles.
And probably the sort of the best of the best, the latest sort of vehicles.
Absolutely.
Jinx. Yes.
Let's talk about some of the categories. So what constitutes? Let's just plug in.
Well, we broke it down into 4 categories, but unlike in past years, as the market has developed, the categories are starting to bleed over into one another. So we had the best plug-in vehicle, best hybrid vehicle, best luxury green vehicle, and the best overall.
So technically, a best plug-in vehicle could also be in a best hybrid, but could also be in a best luxury category.
Exactly.
Oh, and then also a best overall. So some could be in all categories, and some could be in just 1 or 2.
Yep.
Actually, I kind of like that idea. It's a good idea, because then the more technology that's in the car, the more category it competes in. So, all right, let's start off and talk about the results, winning the categories. First of all, which won the best electric vehicle, or the plug-in? I guess it would be the best plug-in vehicle.
Yes.
So something that has to be plugged into and it could have a gas motor and it could not have a gas motor.
No, these were typically all of the ones that were contenders were pure EVs, and the winner was
that doesn't.
actually-
there were some
Sorry,
hybrids
Jeff.
in there.
No?
Nope. The plug-in hybrids, the extended range
okay.
hybrids, also competed in
because
that
the
category.
Ford Fusion was in that category,
okay.
right?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But our winner was a pure EV,
Right.
and it was the 2016 Volkswagen e-Golf.
Now, I was a juror, so that was one of the cars I voted for. I voted for it because it is like a regular Golf. You can't tell it's pretty much anything different from a regular Golf until you get in the driver's seat. I mean, it looks like it's identical, and I like electric cars, but I don't like them necessarily to look like electric cars. So why do you guys think it won?
Well, if you read my review at the Portland Tribune website,
Oh,
on portlandtribune.com,
selfless, shameless plug.
Yes, I'll plug that. The first sentence is, this is my new favorite electric car because its performance is fantastic. It's fun to drive. It's useful. 4-door hatchback and, great performance, great value because it was also the least expensive of the EVs that we looked at this week.
Well, it depends. The SEL model, which I think we had down there, was 35, and the Leaf is 30, isn't it?
No, well, the one we had was an SE, and it was $29,815.
All right.
So,
But if you buy the SEL, which was
if you bought the SEL,
yeah.
you'd pay more. But
If you buy the one that you really want, which is
Right.
the SEL.
yeah.
But still,
John encapsulated my thoughts exactly.
It's a great deal. It's a
Right.
great deal on a great car that you are going to love to drive. I mean, and driving that car is just a giggle.
Now, does this still qualify for the $750 federal tax rebate?
The $3,500 federal tax rebate?
They cut it in half, didn't they?
Not yet.
So isn't it $7,500 federal?
Oh, it is $7,500 federal still, yes.
Yes.
And then there's probably some city and state, depending on where you live, tax rebates.
Until a manufacturer sells 200,000 electric vehicles, their customers
in the U.S.
their customers can get the tax credit.
Right.
Once they do that, the tax credit phases out for that manufacturer.
Do we know anyone that's exceeded that?
Nobody has exceeded that yet. Tesla will probably be the first.
If that Disney story actually happens, but that's a whole different.
If a car hits the road?
Yeah, if the car
Actually, they will probably hit that number before a single Model 3 hits the road with Model S's and Model X's
right.
and the probable delays in the Model 3.
Okay. We have three other categories to talk about, but let's just finish on the e-Golf as well. Do you think the e-Golf would be a daily driver for somebody?
Absolutely, yes. In Portland, I ran a test, and I drive around a lot. And the number of days that I drive more than 50 miles in Metro Portland is vanishingly small. It's pretty much I have to be going to Seattle or Salem to exceed that on an average day. And so, really, you could drive the e-Golf months and months and plug it in every night at home and be perfectly fine.
All right, when we come back, we'll find about the other three categories that we had winners for at the Drive Revolution event, and we will tell you what the Northwest Green Automotive Vehicle of the Year is, or the Green, what are we calling it, John? The Green
Northwest Green Vehicle of the Year.
Vehicle of the Year. We have to be sure not to use the word car in there. I'm Nick Miles. We'll be right back.
Favorite us, tweet us, friend us, love us, all at testmiles.com.
We'd like to thank you for being part of our radio show. Visit Test Miles' Facebook page for the latest news. And now it's time to bring you one of Jen's fun facts.
Well, thank you, Nick. In 1962, Corvette chief engineer Zora Arkus Duntov planned to manufacture 125 Grand Sport Corvettes, but only 5 of the version C2 were actually built before GM management crushed the program.
She
virgin
practices
cars.
so hard on these fun facts with all these foreign names, and we all coach her. Well done, Jen.
Thank you.
You
Thank
did
you.
good. You did fine. A little bit off, but you did fine. We're talking about Drive Revolution and the Northwest Automotive Press Association's Green Vehicle of the Year. So we talked about the fact that the e-Golf won the plug-in version. So let's go to the hybrid version. Who won hybrid this year?
The new Honda Accord hybrid.
And for me, probably one of the most exciting new hybrids there is, because it's this feels like a real car that doesn't feel any different than the normal car.
It does, but it has a dramatically different powertrain than the last Accord hybrid. It's a series hybrid that generally runs on electric most of the time, although that electricity is generated by the gasoline engine.
So 949 miles a gallon. Is that right? I think on the top is
48 or 49.
48 is medium, so it's 47, 48, 49.
They have a new, 48 miles per gallon, and they were hoping to get over 50, but they told me that there is a new way of rating miles per gallon for 2017,
right?
And it knocks everybody down by a couple MPGs.
Right. So first of all, $30,000 for this car, right? Starting price.
Starting price, yes.
Yes.
And topping out at 35.
About 36.
As tested, 36,790.
Wow. I mean, that's just, to me, that's wow. You just think about how much money you pay for us. I just think about how much I paid for my small car that gets about 36 miles a gallon.
And for $36,000,
yeah,
that's loaded with technology that you would have found on $70,000 cars a couple of years ago, like lane departure and forward collision intervention. The full slate of safety stuff.
Yeah, they have an absolutely packed safety slate. To me, this car is absolutely outstanding. And usually, I'm not necessarily a hybrid fan. I like the ideas of them, but I would buy this. I would absolutely buy this car. I think it was a good choice. What worked for you guys best with this?
You know, I love the fact that you can drive around up to freeway speeds on all electric mode on it, and so it's got great pickup. It's quiet. It's luxurious inside. You know, Honda's really outdone themselves with this car.
All right, Green Luxury, that was not a surprise winner because it really really was the only car out there that just trumped everything. I'm surprised it actually didn't win overall, but tell us what that was.
That was the 2017 Acura NSX, which is really, you know, it's a supercar. I'm sure that the other luxury car manufacturers involved in Drive Revolution, BMW and Mercedes, would have said, well, you know, this car is really in a class by itself. And so it is. You know, amazing performance, $157,000 price tag.
That's starting.
Yeah, it starts there.
I was surprised that it has no. I did take this car on Coin on Tuesday morning, and I was surprised when I did my Coin segment. I was surprised the fact that that's the starting. There are no trim levels. You basically build out the car, and you can build it up to $205,000. So you get the base at 157, and then you add on
157.8.
157.8, and then you add on all your bits and pieces like your carbon this and your shapely that and your color this, and you end up with, you know, a really, really great car. Why are you shaking your head, Ryan?
Trust me, if you buy the base model, you're not going to be disappointed.
Right.
The NSX uses this wildly complex system of 3 motors and an engine to give amazing performance. You're talking 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And every one of them is hand built. I visited the factory, the Acura Performance Factory in Ohio, and watched them building these cars.
But they build them with lasers, right?
So everything is done
James Bondy.
Incredibly precisely. But there's also an element of a small team. Each engine is built by one person,
right?
And so you really are getting a handcrafted, you know, bespoke supercar,
right? It's very much like Mercedes AMGs, right? All built.
Yeah.
The engines are built by one man, and he signs the engine. It's the same sort of idea. All right, let's get to the final winner. This is the Northwest Green Vehicle of the Year. This vehicle was voted by the members of the Northwest Automotive Press Association as the best of the best. And gentlemen, please tell me who the winner was.
It is the Chevrolet Volt.
And well-deserved, I believe.
Absolutely. The second generation Volt. The first generation Volt was a great car. The second generation Volt is improved in every way.
It was, to me, highly impressive. It's one of the things that Chevy have done right. Absolutely. It's sort of the turn the corner for Chevy for me. This car stands out as a masterpiece, very simple engineering, very simple idea, and they've well executed. Agree, Jeff?
Absolutely, I do. For me, my favorite feature on the new Volt is a little paddle, almost like a trigger, on the backside of the steering wheel. And when you pull that little paddle forward, it engages the regeneration. So if you're just cruising along on the freeway and you need to slow down, you just pull that paddle and the car slows down, regenerating electricity as you go, and you let it up and the car goes. So it's kind of like having a little handbrake on the car that gives you more electricity. Genius.
And very, very clever. All right. So since we're talking about GM, you went to another GM event or another Chevy event this week, didn't you?
I did, at the far end of the spectrum from the Volt. I went on the launch of the Corvette Grand Sport, the 2017 Grand Sport.
And tell me about this car. Did it wow you? Would you buy one?
Absolutely,
I mean, you're a bit of a Corvette
yes.
specialist, aren't you?
I am a Corvette fan. I own one myself. I would absolutely buy this, as I would have bought the last generation Grand Sport. The Grand Sport, as Jen mentioned, has this great history. It goes back to 1963, Zora Arkus Duntov trying to build a little skunkworks race car. And they brought it back in 96 with the C4, and then they brought it back again with the C6. And what it is, and what the Grand Sport has been in the modern era, is all of the good handling and brake stuff put on the basic engine. So you don't get the high horsepower that you get with the Z06, but you do get the handling and potentially the braking if you buy the carbon ceramic Z07 braking package with it. So what you end up with is a sweet spot car that has fantastic handling and braking and still has 465 horsepower. I mean, there's plenty of power there. It's the car that, as Chevy says, is really for the purist. It's for the person who is an above average driver and who wants that extra handling and braking capability.
Now, Sean, you have a Callaway. Would you rather have a Grand Sport?
I don't know. I haven't driven the new Grand Sport, so I can't really tell you, but I like my Callaway because there's fewer numbers of them and you don't see them everywhere.
Oh, it's an elitist thing.
Yeah, kind of.
All right, just checking.
You see no offense to the Grand Sport because it's a fantastic car, but you see it everywhere. You don't see Callaways, and you don't see too many Z06s that much anymore as well.
Well, Sean has a point. The Grand Sport was so popular in the C6 version that by the end of the run, it was accounting for more than half of Corvette sales, because so many people discovered that you buy your base Corvette, and for $5,000 more, you can get the Grand Sport, which makes it just a fantastic deal. And here again, your Grand Sport is just a few $1,000s more than the base Corvette. And I think Chevy's going to sell more of these than anything else.
All right.
It's really the way the Corvette was really meant to be.
Interesting that you would say that. So why is the Corvette the way it is and not the way it was meant to be?
There's an affordable base version that they called the Essential Corvette. I mean, no Corvette is like a bad handling, underpowered machine. These are all real premium machines. I mean, what I say is you're getting supercar performance at a fraction of the supercar price,
right,
with a Corvette,
right?
You know, and so you can either get your basic Corvette, which is a great car, or you can get the Grand Sport for a little bit more and really get a premium car.
But is there anything actually visually different than this one than a standard Vet? Because like last generation, there was the wider fender flares.
Right. You do get a bunch of visual cues in the car, spoilers and aero and all of that, as well as the really cute little hash marks on the front. And so you can tell at a glance that you're looking at a Grand Sport.
It's definitely got to be a Corvette fan thing.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I mean if you don't know Corvettes, you'd say Corvette. But
there you go.
You know, that same person who won't distinguish a Grand Sport from a base model is also not going to distinguish a Z06 or the last generation ZR1. They'll say, Corvette. But those of us who know, we know.
Corvette. When we come back, we'll talk about the Rose Cup races. They're coming up, and we'll also find out what Ryan's been reviewing. I'm a little concerned with the name of the product, but we'll find out what it's all about. That's coming up on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
All right, welcome back to Test Miles. Staying connected to the automotive world. You're listening to our car radio show. I'm your host, Nick Miles. I just want to remind you that if you want to check out some of my car segments, go to coin.com or watch me on Coin. I do a couple car segments there every single week. We have John Vincent from U.S. News and World Report, along with Jeff Zerschmied from Test Miles and for the Portland Tribune. And we are talking about the Northwest winners of the Automotive Vehicle of the Year. We're also talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. And Jen has a fun fact.
Last fun fact of the day, Jerry Grant won the first 2 Rose Cup races at Portland International Raceway in 1961 and 62. Monty Shelton statistically is the greatest driver in Rose Cup history with 7 wins.
So let's talk about the Rose Cups, gentlemen. Are these important to Portland, by the way?
Absolutely. 56 years running of the Rose Cup races since 1961, and the event just keeps getting better. And this year we have a whole new program going on there. It's next weekend, and you do not want to miss it. We're going to have a bunch of great run groups, including the Rose Cup race itself, big, powerful cars, Porsches, Ferraris, V8 powered silhouette cars. That's going to be a real thriller. We've got spec Miatas. We've got spec racer Fords. So if you want to see a bunch of identical cars running around with the drivers just absolutely giving their all to win those races, you can see that. We've got the Gas Series, stock cars, NASCAR-style stock cars running on the road course. We've got the Wemmy Trophy Vintage Race. Great cars of the past. We've got
so many questions I want to ask about how you came up with that name. But
and the Wemmy Trophy.
Yeah.
It's a great story. In 1909, E. Henry Wemmy, who was a textile magnate here in Portland, funded a race, and it was a race between Portland and Gresham, and it was 105 miles. And for 2009, we brought back the Wemmy Trophy as at its centennial, and now it's kind of a lifetime achievement award for success in vintage racing.
I have to tell you, I met Monty Shelton for the first time. Like, I've lived in Portland since 1993, and I met him for the first time last weekend. Mm-hmm. There is not a man I would rather have as my granddad.
Isn't he wonderful?
He is probably one of the most beautiful human beings I have ever come across in my life.
And he was the 2014 winner of the Wemmy Trophy, as well as a 7-time Rose Cup winner.
Yeah.
And to bring things full circle, the owner of one of the oldest electric cars in Portland in 1904.
Right.
In 1904 Detroit Electric, he's got.
He gets, you talk to Monty about his car dealership and those sort of things, and he's very just low-key. You start talking to him about Big Blue and his racing cars, and the guy almost is like a 12-year-old. He can't hold himself in his seat. He gets so excited, and it's so great to see him so excited about it.
He's a true treasure.
All right.
So you can get your tickets in advance for the Rose Cup at rosecup.com. You can also buy them at the gate. It just come out to PIR on Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next week, and you're going to see some great racing on Saturday night. After the road racing is done, we've got Rose Cup drags. I'll be entered in my Corvette, just to bring that around full circle. Drag racing that night.
Is there a website?
Yes, rosecup.com.
All right, rosecup.com for all your latest information. John and Jeff, thank you very much. You're great partners in our show. Ryan is here with a product to review. I'm hesitant to tell you what the name of, you tell us what the name of the product is.
It's called Back to Black.
What does that even mean?
Well, I mean, it's supposed to make your plastics, those oxidized look that you get to your plastics, it makes it back shiny black again.
So once you've gone back to black?
You can't go back.
Right, it looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good when you put it on your car.
Another great product made by your mother.
Is it Mother's?
No, it's Mother's, yeah.
Yeah, it has an S on the end, I think.
Mother's products, yeah.
And so what does it do? It takes that gray, very misty black and makes it...
It takes that oxidized look and it brings it back to that shiny, protected, smooth feeling, waxed feeling, great looking black plastic.
You've used this on a vehicle?
I've used this on almost every vehicle.
I have a bunch of vehicles that have those black wheel plastic trims around that need this. Can I get you to come to my house and put some Back to Black on it?
How much money you got?
Wait a second. How much money have I got? Nothing. How much money have you got?
I guess I can do something for you.
There you go. You can get this at all retailers, or how does that work?
Yeah, you can get it online at mothers.com, or you can get it basically at any car retailing store, O'Reilly's and stuff like that.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Ryan, for doing the car review. We have an exciting week coming up this week. I'm going to be on the road reviewing the brand new Armada from Nissan. And then I was lucky enough to con Aston Martin into taking me to Italy to drive the new DB11. So we'll have full reports on those cars when they come up. Thanks for joining us. Of course, there is lots of Test Miles stuff that you can enjoy when you're not listening to the radio, and that is at testmiles.com. You can watch Coin to see the reviews, read my stuff in the Oregonian, as well as check out my Fox Sports show. I'm always happy to answer any questions. You can email. Just go to testmiles.com. You'll find out the latest information about what's going on. Many thanks from my heart to John and Jeff and the rest of the team for this morning's show. And we, of course, will return next week, Sunday morning at 10 a.m. I'm Nick Miles.
Forget the hairstyle!